I thought my wife was perfect. I thought her weekend trips to visit her friend were just friendly meetings. And then one day I accidentally saw a message on her phone, "I miss you. When will you tell him the truth?" At that moment, I realized she was living a double life, but instead of making a scene, I decided to make her destroy everything herself. Jennifer and I had been together for 7 years, married for 5. When people asked about our relationship, I'd smile and say we were still in the honeymoon phase. I believed it too. I worked as a financial analyst at a prestigious firm in Chicago, while Jennifer managed our beautiful brownstone home in Lincoln Park. On weekends, we'd stroll through farmers markets, have brunch with friends, or binge-watch shows on the couch. It was the life I had always wanted. Every other weekend, Jennifer would drive to Milwaukee to visit her childhood friend Sarah. They'd been inseparable since elementary school, and even though they now lived in different cities, they maintained their bond. I never questioned these trips. Why would I? Jennifer would come back relaxed and happy, often bringing me local craft beers or artisanal cheeses from the markets they visited. "How's Sarah doing?" I'd ask casually as Jennifer unpacked her overnight bag. "Great. We went to that new restaurant I told you about," she'd say, her eyes bright with excitement. "You should come next time. You'd love it." I always declined. I wanted her to have her own space, her own friends. I trusted her completely. Then came that Tuesday evening in April. Jennifer was taking a shower after her yoga class. I was in our bedroom, going through work emails, when her phone lit up on the nightstand. A notification appeared on the screen, "Hey, I miss you. When will you tell him the truth?" My fingers froze over my laptop keyboard. A sharp pain shot through my chest as I stared at those words. There had to be an explanation, right? Maybe it was a wrong number. Maybe it was for a surprise party they were planning. I had never checked Jennifer's phone before. We respected each other's privacy. But in that moment, curiosity and fear overrode my principles. I picked up her phone, no password required, another sign of our supposed trust, and opened the message. The thread with "A" stretched back months. I scrolled up, my stomach tightening with each swipe. "Last weekend was incredible. Can't wait to see you again. I wish you could stay longer. Do you think he suspects anything?" With trembling hands, I continued scrolling, finding photos of them together, Jennifer and a tall, dark-haired man I had never seen before. They were at restaurants, hiking trails, and hotel rooms. In one picture, they were kissing in front of a lake at sunset. The date stamp, 3 weekends ago, when she was supposedly with Sarah. His name was Adam Barnes. I found that out through their messages. He lived in Milwaukee, was a corporate lawyer, and apparently, had been seeing my wife for almost a year. But that wasn't all. As I dug deeper, I found messages discussing their future together. "I spoke to a lawyer today about divorce options," Jennifer had written 2 weeks earlier. "He says if we're careful, I can get a favorable settlement." Adam had replied, "That's my girl. Always thinking ahead. Once this is over, we can start our life together properly." The shower turned off. I quickly took screenshots of the most damning messages, emailed them to myself, and placed the phone back exactly where it had been. When Jennifer entered the room, wrapped in a towel, her hair dripping, I forced a smile. "Work stuff?" she asked, nodding at my laptop. "Yeah," I replied, my voice surprisingly steady. "Never ends." She kissed the top of my head as she passed by. "Don't stay up too late, honey." That night, as she slept peacefully beside me, I lay awake, my mind racing. I could confront her, scream, throw things, but what would that accomplish? Instead, I decided to learn more. To understand the full extent of her betrayal before deciding my next move. Over the next week, I became a detective in my own marriage. I created a fake social media account and found Adam Barnes online. His profile picture showed a handsome man in his late 30s, with a confident smile and expensive suits. But what caught my attention was his family photos: a beautiful blonde wife named Rebecca, a 6-year-old boy, and a 4-year-old girl. So Jennifer wasn't just having an affair, she was having an affair with a married man who had young children. The betrayal cut even deeper. I checked our joint bank accounts and credit card statements. There were unexplained withdrawals, hotel charges in Milwaukee that didn't match her visiting Sarah timeline, and expensive restaurant bills for two. She had been careless, confident that I would never check. I even drove to Milwaukee one day when she thought I was at a business conference. I followed her from a distance as she met Adam at a cafe, watched them hold hands across the table, kiss in public without fear of being recognized. They looked so comfortable together, so natural. It made me wonder how much of our own relationship had been genuine. Instead of confronting Jennifer immediately, I decided to dig deeper into Adam's life. A few strategic searches and some social engineering gave me access to information about his family, his job at a prestigious law firm, and his community standing. Adam Barnes was a respected member of the Milwaukee elite, a partner at his firm, and a board member of a local children's charity. His reputation was important to him. I also discovered that he and Rebecca had been high school sweethearts, married for 10 years. Their social media portrayed a perfect family life: beach vacations, Christmas card photos, fundraising galas. But clearly, there were cracks beneath the surface. 2 weeks after discovering the affair, I had gathered enough information to destroy both Jennifer and Adam if I wanted to. But a simple confrontation seemed too easy, too expected. I wanted them to feel the pain of watching everything they had built crumble around them, just as I had felt. During this time, Jennifer continued her charade. She brought me coffee in the morning, asked about my day, suggested weekend plans for us. Once, she even initiated intimacy, which I somehow managed to participate in while feeling completely detached, as if I were watching the scene from above. "Is everything okay?" she asked afterward, perhaps noticing my emotional distance. "Just stressed about work," I replied. "Big project coming up." She nodded sympathetically and placed her hand on my chest. "Don't worry too much. Everything will work out." The irony wasn't lost on me. The following Friday, Jennifer announced she was going to visit Sarah again. I nodded, wished her a good time, kissed her goodbye. As soon as her car disappeared down our street, I put my plan into motion. First, I called the restaurant, La Petite Maison, an upscale French place in downtown Chicago where we had celebrated our anniversary last year. I made a reservation for Saturday evening, then called Jennifer. "Hey, can you come back a bit early tomorrow? I've got a surprise for you," I said, injecting excitement into my voice. "Oh. What kind of surprise?" she asked, sounding genuinely curious. "If I told you, it wouldn't be a surprise. Just be home by 6, dress nicely." She laughed. "Intriguing. Okay, I'll be there." Next, I created a fake email account and composed a message to Rebecca Barnes, attaching screenshots of her husband's conversations with my wife. I didn't send it yet, that would come later. On Saturday evening, Jennifer returned home at 5:30, looking slightly rushed but radiant. She had done her hair, applied fresh makeup, not for me, I now realized, but to look good for her goodbye with Adam before driving back. "So, what's this surprise?" she asked as she changed into a black dress I had always loved on her. "Dinner at La Petite Maison," I said, adjusting my tie in the mirror. "I thought we could use a nice night out." Her face lit up with what appeared to be genuine pleasure. "That's so thoughtful. What's the occasion?" I shrugged. "Do I need an occasion to treat my wife?" The restaurant was dimly lit, romantic. We were seated at a corner table, a bottle of expensive Bordeaux between us. Jennifer looked beautiful in the candlelight, and for a brief moment, I felt a pang of sadness for what we once had, or what I thought we had. We made small talk through appetizers. I asked about her weekend, and she spun elaborate tales about shopping with Sarah and trying a new brunch place. I nodded, smiling, playing along. As our main courses arrived, I excused myself to use the restroom. Instead, I approached the maitre d', slipped him $100 bill, and explained what I needed him to do. He raised an eyebrow but agreed. When I returned to the table, Jennifer was sipping her wine, scrolling through her phone. She quickly put it down when she saw me. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Perfect," I replied, raising my glass. "To us." She clinked her glass against mine, a flash of something, guilt. Uncertainty, crossing her face. The maitre d' approached our table with a small Bluetooth speaker on a silver tray. "Excuse me, madam, you left your phone at the reception when you arrived. It has been making sounds." Before Jennifer could protest that she had her phone with her, he placed the speaker on the table and pressed play. Adam's voice filled our intimate space. "Baby, I can't wait to have you all to myself. The sooner you leave that boring husband of yours, the sooner we can start our real life together. Last weekend was amazing. I keep thinking about how you looked in that hotel room, wearing nothing but my shirt." The color drained from Jennifer's face. Other diners turned to look at our table. The maitre d' discreetly retreated. "Michael," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I can explain." I raised my hand, silencing her. "How long?" She swallowed hard. 11 months. "And Sarah? Has she been covering for you this whole time?" Jennifer shook her head. "No. She doesn't know. I haven't actually seen Sarah in over a year." I nodded slowly, taking a sip of my wine. "I've known for 2 weeks. I've seen everything, the messages, the photos, your consultation with the divorce lawyer. How you planned to take as much as you could from me." Tears filled her eyes. "It wasn't like that." "Save it," I said quietly. "I'm not interested in your explanations or excuses. But you should know that while you're sitting here, Adam's wife is receiving quite an interesting email." Her eyes widened in horror. "What did you do?" I smiled thinly. "Nothing compared to what you did. I simply shared the truth with someone who deserved to know it." Jennifer grabbed her phone, frantically typing a message, presumably to warn Adam. I watched her panic grow as minutes passed with no response. "He won't answer," I said calmly. "He's probably a bit busy right now. Family crisis and all that." The revelation seemed to hit her fully then. She started sobbing quietly, mascara running down her cheeks. People at nearby tables were openly staring now. "Please," she begged. "Don't do this. We can work through this." I placed several $100 bills on the table, enough to cover our barely touched dinner and a generous tip. "There's nothing to work through. I've already spoken to a lawyer, a better one than yours, apparently. Divorce papers will be delivered to you on Monday. Don't bother coming home tonight. The locks have been changed." As I stood to leave, I leaned down and whispered in her ear, "By the way, I found Adam's firm's ethics committee email. They might be interested to know that he's been billing clients for hours he spent in hotel rooms with you." I walked out of the restaurant without looking back, Jennifer's pleas fading behind me. Outside, I took my first deep breath in weeks. My phone pinged with a notification, an email from Rebecca Barnes, expressing her shock and gratitude for the information. Over the next few days, the fallout was spectacular. Adam was placed on administrative leave pending an investigation into his billing practices. Rebecca filed for divorce and full custody of their children. Jennifer tried repeatedly to contact me, calls, texts, even showing up at my office, but I remained unreachable. Through mutual friends, I heard that Adam had completely cut ties with Jennifer once his life started falling apart. Apparently, she wasn't worth the risk anymore. She had lost her lover, her husband, her home, and her reputation in one fell swoop. 6 months later, I ran into Sarah at a coffee shop. The real Sarah, Jennifer's childhood friend. "I haven't spoken to Jennifer in over a year," she confirmed, looking confused. "We had a falling out when she cancelled our plans for the third time with no explanation. I've been trying to reach out, but she always has excuses." I nodded, feeling a bitter satisfaction. Even Jennifer's friendship with Sarah had been a casualty of her affair. "How are you doing?" Sarah asked, genuine concern in her eyes. I considered the question. The anger had subsided, replaced by a hollow feeling that I was slowly filling with new experiences, new friends, even tentative dates with women who seemed honest and direct. "I'm getting there," I replied truthfully. As I walked home that evening, I realized that my elaborate revenge hadn't brought me the closure I'd expected. Yes, Jennifer and Adam had lost everything, but the victory felt empty somehow. I still woke up sometimes reaching for someone who wasn't there, still caught myself waiting to hear her key in the door after work. Revenge, I was learning, is like fire, it consumes everything, including parts of yourself you never intended to burn. But as I entered my quiet apartment, I also knew that from these ashes, something new would eventually grow. Something stronger, more authentic. And that, perhaps, was the real victory.